It's as if the whole world was suddenly destroyed, but not by an explosion. An explosion is something hard and solid, but destroyed by some horrible kind of softening. As if nothing was solid, nothing held any shape at all. And you could poke your finger through stone wall, and the stone would give like jelly, and mountains would slither, and buildings would switch their shapes like clouds. And that would be the end of the world. Not fire and brimstone, but goo. That quote this morning is brought to you from Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. And that quote was published in 1957. But I feel truer today than it was then. And I'm going to finish off that quote because it's a conversation between two people in the book. And if I remember to do this, I'll finish that off to cap off today's SitRep. But yes, today is not a book reading club. Today is the SitRep. So it is the 10th day in June on 2022, and this is the situation report. What the is going on in the world right now, people? I've no idea. But through me getting on here and talking and us discussing these sorts of things, hopefully we're going to figure out what is actually happening in the world right now, because it is crazy time. Hey, let's light up my face a little bit. Look at this. So what do we got? It's 7:13 in the AMs here in Australia on the eastern seaboard of Australia. Here's something interesting that I'm going to start off with. The 10 least affordable housing markets in the world. Number one, unsurprisingly, Hong Kong. Again, they're always killing it by a long way. Number two is the place I'm in right now, Sydney. This seething cesspit of scum and villainy. Sydney is a fine place. This is the second least affordable place on the earth. Let's see, number 3 was Vancouver. Number 4 is San Jose. I'm thinking that's the just in south of San Francisco, and that's quite commonly known as Silicon Valley. And number 5, Australia back in the top charts, Melbourne, my hometown where I was born. So we took out number 2 and number 5 of the 10 least affordable places to live on the earth. Hey, even New Zealand, you guys got in there. Auckland at number 8. Way to go. Little troopers getting in there, jacking up the prices of your houses, inflation running rampant. Good for you guys. Probably no surprises, really, to anyone who lives in these cities that it is very hard to afford them. But if I just have a look at them, what do we got? 1, 2, 3 in the USA. Sorry, 4 because we've got Honolulu as well, technically in the USA. 2 in Canada. We've got Hong Kong. And then rounding it out, the other 3, 2 in Australia, 1 in New Zealand. So, yeah. What are we doing? Government regulations working their ass off there. All right. Anyway, that was just interesting to me because I hate the government. No, I hate housing prices. I hate how ramped up they are. And despite all the talk from our government talking about we're trying to make housing affordability, blah, 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 most of what I experience, at least, having been somebody who has previously owned a house and don't at the moment, but am in the throes of constructing a house, which I can't even do at the moment because the government is so backlogged that they can't process my application to build. Yet, I still have to pay fees as if I was living in that house. Now, if this was any other organization, I would say this is a criminal organization. And I do say that. I truly believe that our government is now, by definition, a criminal organization. I just can't do anything about it. So yeah, that's where we're at. I hate leasing land when they say you own it. Yeah, that's the other thing is, I own that land, yet I don't, because I still have to pay fees on it. And if I don't pay those fees, the government will come take it. Anyway, that's enough bitching about housing markets. Let's talk about what's happening in the Quad. The Quadrilateral Security Agreement between India, Australia. I talked about this yesterday. Australia sending planes over to India in order to do some spying around the oceans around there. It also involves Japan and US. That's the other two parts. That's the other buy of the Quad. Looks like the Quad might start to shift into a quint. I believe that's the correct term for 5. With South Korea. So South Korea today wants to join the Quadrilateral Security Dialogue. India is a core member of this group. It may convince Japan, the US, and Australia to welcome South Korea into the fold. I don't think this is any surprise. This quadrilateral agreement was brought in to increase the checks, I guess, security checks and balances within our area, mainly around China. So South Korea has a lot to do with that. Obviously, they're more concerned with North Korea, but North Korea is very linked to China. So by guilt by association, I guess. I think this could have wheels. I think this could actually start to happen. And if it does, it also wouldn't surprise me if we start to see other countries coming in. What my take on it is here, we're seeing the lines start to be drawn. We've got the two captains of the teams, if you will, US and China, are sitting there and they're picking their dodgeball partners at the moment. Obviously, US has come in and gone, yo, Australia, you're in. You guys got good arms. You know how to dodge, duck, dive, whatever the other Ds are. So we're in straight off the bat because we're a sporting nation. Never mind a bit of a fight, a bit of a biff, hey? But the other countries, I think we're going to start to see line up, and it's really going to start to push a lot of countries when we get into the island nations, because we've already seen that China has been going in there and shoring up some alliances there, or at least some agreements in those areas, i.e. the Solomon Islands agreement, but they just did a tour, their foreign minister just did a tour through the area, and I think there'll be some other agreements that come out of that. I was reminded by one of the sources that I talked to that we're actually talking about something else, but it twigged in my mind where they were talking about how the Russian foreign minister went through South America. And one of the news reports I've got here, where is it? Maybe I don't have it. I don't have it. But anyway, I'll just do it off the top. Fuck it, we're doing it live. Do it off the top of my head. Was that Nicaragua has come out and said, yes, we're open. In fact, we want Russian troops on our soil. Nicaragua, for those who don't know, is in the pointy part of Central America. Just before you got Panama that then goes into South America. But on the other side of that, you got Nicaragua, and then you got Guatemala, and I'm missing a country in there that I can't remember, and then Mexico. But anyway, that's really, really close to the US, and I'm sure the US doesn't want Russian troops that close to its soil, i.e. another Cuban Missile Crisis. But Nicaragua has come out and said, yeah, we want Russian troops here. That could be a bit of a game changer. Anyway, that twigged in my mind. Yeah, the Russian foreign minister, just before Russia invaded, went through and did a bit of a tour of South American countries and Central American countries in kind of like a let's tie up some loose ends, let's get some bows on some stuff, on little agreements here, under the table type agreements. Fast forward to now, and we've just seen the Chinese foreign minister do the same throughout their area, and I'm like, maybe another signal that China is poised to move on Taiwan, as if we needed another signal. It's pretty obvious that they're going to do it. They're just going to do it at a point that is of maximum convenience, of maximum benefit to the nation of China. So they're just waiting on that. But anyway, that's another thing that we're seeing. Okay, what else do we have? Let's stay in the war space for right now, and let's talk about Iran, because this is a doozy. If you think about nuclear weapons a lot, like I do, this one's a doozy. Obviously, we've got a pretty big agreement, and we've got organizations built up around this agreement of nuclear non-proliferation. So we don't want other countries getting nuclear weapons. There are countries that have said, like, yeah, all right, we agree to this theory, even though we know there's thousands of nuclear weapons out there, mainly in Russia, number one, and US, number two. But there's a whole heap of other countries. You got UK, they're like the little brothers on the block, and there's some in Pakistan, and there's some in India, and maybe there's some in Israel, but no one talks about it. So there's a handful of countries that have it, but we don't want anyone else to have it. Australia, for example, we do not have any nuclear weapons that I know of. Maybe there's some secret bunker. Maybe the Parliament House actually splits apart into 4 things and nukes come flying out of it. That'd be cool. That would be really cool. Don't think it happens though. As far as I know, Australia has no nuclear weapons. Officially, we have no nuclear weapons. We rely on the nuclear arsenal that US has and our ties to the US. So anyway, we don't want other countries to develop nuclear weapons. That's why there's a whole heap of sanctions on places like North Korea, who just went ahead and did it anyway. We weren't happy about that, but they went ahead and did it. Iran, we definitely, we're 100%, you are not allowed nuclear weapons. In fact, we've got an organization that monitors this sort of stuff. So they set up cameras. They set up cameras because Iran's like, well, we don't want nuclear weapons. We just want nuclear power. Is that okay? Can we power our nation with nuclear energy? You guys can do that. That should be free and open for all people to do. So yeah, okay. Nuclear power and the refinement of nuclear weapons are 2 different things. You can use one to eventually get to the other, but as long as you keep it just in that nuclear power lane, stay in your fucking lane, Iran. All right, we're going to set up some cameras around here. Iran just turned off those cameras. 27 surveillance cameras all just got switched off. So that's interesting, isn't it? Why would they do that? This was in response to some sanctions or some warnings or something that happened. I didn't quite get my head around exactly what it was, but it was in response to something that happened to Iran. And so Iran went, hey, you know what? We're turning off your cameras. It's not saying that they are refining nuclear weapons. It's just saying that they are very, very close to having the ability to refining nuclear weapons. And now there's no oversight. We can't see them. We can't stop them. So that's very interesting. Obviously, Iran and Israel are very fractious at the moment. This is starting to look like a real powder keg in this part of the world at the moment. And who knows what's actually going to evolve here. Again, I like to just point out these things, that there is the Ukraine crisis, this war that's going on there where Russia invaded. But we also have, is that still going? Just had some power cut out. We also have this Iran-Israel. There's other factors in there. There's other countries involved in that situation as well. We also have China, Taiwan. We've got North Korea, South Korea. There are a number of conflicts that are going on around the world. The world is heading into a more violent space right now as I speak. Keep your eyeballs peeled on this one. This is the sort of stuff, the reason that I talk about this is not to fill you full of doom and fear. Because if Iran and Israel do kick off, it doesn't really affect us that much in Australia in the short to maybe medium term. But what this actually, and there's also nothing we can do about it, right? We just have to sort of sit on our hands. But what we need to start doing is actually just looking at the bigger picture of what's happening in the world, because something like this kicking off will have huge ramifications. This will be, I guess, the next step into World War, which will pull us all into. It will affect us in some sort of way. But even if we look at it from how it's going to affect our lives in the short term. What do we get out of the Middle East? I mean, there's probably primarily we're thinking about oil. Oil coming out of this area in the world. If there's conflict in this area, there's less oil. So have a guess where oil prices are going. And it came out overnight that there are some predictions for oil to go over $150 a barrel. So that's over what its peak was. I think its peak was 141 or something like that. But it's sitting around 120 at the moment. So if people are coming out and predicting to go to 150, that's just judging by the current status of how things are. That's obviously concerning for petrol prices at the pump. But the other thing we need to think about is truckers. So I've said this all the just getting some weird messages. Sorry. I've said this for a number of weeks now, and I've said this ever since I've started talking about petrol prices. Really, is that yes, it hurts us as individuals. We can't move around as much, or it costs us more. But what it actually ends up doing is stopping truckers. And every single freaking thing that you're probably looking at in your house right now around you is given to you by a trucker. In that, it probably touched a truck at some stage, especially in Australia. We're very, very reliant. Here's a story from Reuters. Thousands of truckers went on strike for a third day in South Korea to protest the sharp surge in fuel costs, disrupting production and slowing activity at ports, thus posing new risks to a strained global supply chain. Yeah. So truckers are going to stop driving. It's very, very simple. This happened in the 70s with the oil crisis that happened then in the States, and they felt the effects then. People freaked out about it then because it's huge. There is a point where it is non-profitable, where it costs a trucker money to load his truck or her truck with goods and drive it from one point to the other. If fuel costs too much, they just won't do it. They'll just go, well, why would I do it? If you pay me $40 an hour, and this trip is going to cost me, on average $42 an hour, why would I pay you to do a job? Why wouldn't I just sit at home and not earn that money, but not lose any money either? So we're close to that point. We are very close to that point. Unless something drastically changes, we're close to that point. No truckers moving. That means our supermarket, just as one sliver of this whole picture, our supermarkets, where most Australians get their food, the vast majority of Australians get their food from supermarkets. They don't have stockpiles of food out the back, I'm sorry to say. We use a system called just-in-time inventory. As something is bought, it's logged into the computer. The computer goes, okay, yep, put that on a list to buy. At the end of a 24, 48, 72-hour period, it goes, oh, here's our next buy up, usually 24-hour period. Here's our next buy up. That gets sent off. That stuff gets loaded onto a truck. It gets sent and gets replenished. So gone are the days where we would have huge stockpiles and massive cool rooms and things like that out the back of supermarkets, where we could pretty much not get anything in for 3 days and still have full shelves. Now we're at the point, if nothing comes in for 24 hours, within that 24-hour period, we would see huge shortages within shelves. Within 48 to 72 hours, most supermarkets, adding in the fact that people would freak out and panic buy, that 72 hours is a very generous guess at this point, that within 72 hours, there would be not enough food for people to go to the shops at all. That's the ramifications of this. This is huge, okay? And you need to pay attention to this. So my recommendation, as always, is have your own 72 hours in your own home, and then make that 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then try and push for a month or two and 3 months, and then try and really, really, really push it. And in a pinch, you can have 6 months of food in your house ready to go, so that you don't have to go to a supermarket, because that might not be an option. On top of that, get in your fucking garden. Start growing food. Everyone needs to start growing food. And I don't care how much it is, and I don't care how much space you've got. You got a balcony. In fact, no, you got a bathroom. All right, you could start growing herbs or microgreens in there. You got a balcony. You can get big buckets or large pots and start growing stuff in that. Long straight pots, you can grow lettuce in it. Like there are heaps of things. You can put up a little greenhouse. You could even do that indoors if you have to. You need to be growing some stuff. You need to start this now. You need to go out and buy seeds, buy soil, buy whatever it is that you need to start gardening. You need to start looking at your lawns or the areas even around your building and go, I don't know if this needs to be grass. Maybe this needs to be tomatoes this year. Okay, so start thinking about that. Really, really think about that. I'm going to hammer this home because I've got a number of stories here about food stuff, and I'm just going to whip through them. Kieran, yep, and your gun license, absolutely. I'm a huge proponent of people owning firearms. I am a firearm owner. I am a hunter. Also hunt with bow as well. And like I think this is one of those key things that will help you not feel anxious about the future. If you know how to harvest your own food, that's a huge part of your life that you are now taking back control of, that you are taking responsibility for, that you are being self-reliant now. Self-reliant human beings is what we're all about on this channel. So that you're taking that back and you're actually owning that space. So please start going through the process. It starts with do a bit of research on it. You need to go and do a test, a firearm safety test. They're usually run by the people who own a gun store or your local outdoor store or whatever it is. So go and do that. Put in the application. Find a genuine reason by either finding a farmer who has enough land and can give you a genuine reason for vermin hunting, or join a gun club. Registered gun club, and then put the application in to the police. This is all New South Wales, by the way. I don't know what the thing is in other states, but I imagine it's pretty similar. You put the application into the police. They will then give you your gun license, say, yes, you can go get a gun now. Then you go put in a permit to acquire and go purchase a weapon. It is a convoluted process. It is long. It's long for a reason, and I think it's okay that it's long because it takes a lot of kind of whimsical people out of the market, but this is something that is important, and so that you should see it through. Okay, you should go through this process and start doing it. Mushrooms in the bathroom too, great idea. Or family chiropractic, yes. Mushrooms, cold, dark, or warm, dark, I guess. Atmospheres. You can grow mushrooms in sheds. You can grow mushrooms in your garage or in your bathroom. Nice and easy one to do. Kieran, I'll be using grow lights I use for other things. Yeah, grow lights are certainly a good idea. I know at least within ACT, there are some shops that are built for growing indoor herbs. So you can buy the setups pretty easy, but you can grow the indoor herbs, the devil's cabbage, or you can grow lettuce or microgreens or something like that. You can actually use those setups. They're not just illegal setups for bad things. You can use it to grow food as well. So don't be afraid to do that. Interesting, only Steiner-like schools teach food growing. Yeah, that is pretty interesting. I think that should be standard. Actually, no, I think the local school, which is just a state school in my town, has its own plot of land. So it does. It's a very rural town though, so you're gearing kids towards that, I guess. But there are schools out there that do teach this stuff. I think it's just getting less and less and less. And as I'm seeing, as I'm thinking about it now, I recall that being utilized less and less and less. Probably has something to do with the actual teachers themselves coming in from other areas, being city-like teachers, being focused on a curriculum that doesn't really involve that. All right, let's talk about food very quickly. Global health experts warn food shortages could be just as deadly as a world pandemic. So this is from Peter Sands, who is the executive director of the Global Funds to Fight AIDS, Tuberculosis, and Malaria. So this is somebody who knows about infectious disease and is coming out and saying, well, infectious disease is bad and we need to do that, but food shortages could be just as bad as a pandemic. A dangerous and deadly heat wave is about to impact over 30 million people across the southwest of the USA. So this is from Phoenix National Weather Service. They're about to get some really hot weather. Where are we? German farmers warn food prices will continue to escalate. So energy prices have doubled. The price of fertilizer, especially nitrogen fertilizers, has quadrupled on average, and fodder costs more. So this is creating a dangerous situation for pig farmers in particular, who was talking about this. But obviously this is a crisis point where we've got a number of different factors coming into our food manufacturing or growing supply that are increasing costs, and that's going to get passed on to the end user. So pretty soon, all our food will cost astronomical amounts. Back to the USA, mega drought. After dumping water into oceans, it leaves hydropower offline, farmers with fallow fields and no food. One quote from a farmer who was a 73-year-old farmer in Fireborough, California. We'll get back to that point, 73 years old. I got land, I got the people. I have everything, but no water. I can't do it. So they've got a lot of the stuff that they need. They have no water. Also, they've got electrical failings going on in this part of the world as well, in the US, because they use hydroelectricity and there's not enough water to run the hydroelectricity. So, twofold problem, but no water, no food. No water, no food. 73-year-old farmer. Have a look at what the average age of a farmer is in developed countries. And this is something that I've looked at for years now, and I've been watching it go up and up and up as the average age of a farmer in Australia gets older. And that's a problem. That's a real problem that I think we need to start thinking about and really need to start acting on. I won't put myself as young, but I'm not exactly old. I'm kind of like heading towards middle. But it's up to people like us. It's up to the younger generation. It's up to people who are probably my age to start getting out there, to start getting back into the fields, to start getting into farming. And that starts with us growing our own food on a small scale. So we need to start doing that because we're the farmers of the future. All right. No one else is going to do it. Once these people die off, there's going to be a problem. All right. There's going to be a huge problem. And even like consider this, okay? There's certain things a 73-year-old farmer can do physically because we have a system built up around that. We have systems of agriculture built up around that. We have cheap energy, or we had cheap energy. We had access to a whole heap of like equipment and farm plant and all this sort of stuff that a 73-year-old could still totter along, get into a tractor, get into a digger, get into big machinery and move all that sort of stuff. If that goes away, a 73-year-old farmer looks at a huge, 30-hectare plot and just goes, I can't do anything about this. I can do this little 10 by 10 meter square. That's what my physical capability is. But a 40-year-old, a 30-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 15-year-old can do more. They're physically capable. But at the moment, right now, as human beings, we do not have the knowledge within us, and we will lose that knowledge if we don't start doing it now. So again, get in your fucking gardens and think about farming. Think about becoming a farmer. German supermarket chain Rewe, R-E-W-E, Rewe. I'm assuming. Rewe. Purchase limits. They've enforced purchase limits on critical products such as pasta and flour as supply chain problems start to bite. We're seeing supply chain problems. One of my favorite channels to follow on the YouTube's Urban Prepper. The Urban Prepper, he's also got a Instagram, so check him out. I saw on his Instagram this morning, he had a photo of him he's in the US, in Pacific Northwest, I think, and he's pointing in a supermarket at baby formula under lock and key. Baby formula under lock and key. Yeah. Oh man, let's go for Australia. New rules will affect effectively shut down you-pick farms in New South Wales. So in New South Wales and other places on Earth, in fact, this was probably a big thing where I grew up down in Victoria. There are farms where you can go there and you get a punnet or you get a bucket and you go along and you pick the stuff that you're going to eat. Super popular. I think they're a great idea. They're a fun day for a family to go out and do some berry picking or pick some apples or something like that, and then say, like, these are the apples we picked. I'm a farmer. I'm not mocking anyone, but it's a cool idea, and I think it's really good, and it gets people thinking and closer to their food source, which I think that's a fantastic idea. Anyway, these new rules coming into New South Wales going to make it effectively shut down. They're going to destroy these businesses. Also brings in a bit of extra cash for those farmers too. The current proposal they have is to only allow 50 people per day to attend these farms and a maximum of 10 days per year that these farms are allowed to open for pick your own. 10 days a year, they're allowing 50 people in per day. Do a quick bit of maths, that's 500 people. What's the point? There's no point to that. Why would the government do this to us? Don't they love us? Don't they want to care for us and look after us? It's the fucking government. For the people, of the people. World food supply, world grain supply. Ukraine sets conditions for resuming grain reports. No grain will go anywhere unless Ukraine's security is ensured, a senior official has said. Well, I don't think Ukraine's security is going to be ensured anytime soon. So it looks like that grain's going nowhere. Bad grain harvest forecast for the EU, including France, who is usually a net exporter. They're one of the world's net exporters of wheat. So they've just said that's not happening. Turkey bird flu. Turkey's been hit by bird flu. Apparently, they're saying that the shortages due to bird flu there. So lots of stories, lots of little things there that, again, I just keep on, and I'm going to keep hammering this. So if you're sick of hearing it, just stop watching these videos. But I think it's super important. I want to really reinforce this, that the food crisis is coming. It's going to be big, and it's going to be hard for a lot of people. And I don't want it to be hard for you. You and me, we can do something about it right now. We have access to the resources. Plenty of food still in those supermarkets right now. If you head down there, you can start stockpiling a little bit of food, start putting some away for you and yours. There's still plenty of stuff to grow food. So head down to your warehouse, to your outdoors, your horticultural store or whatever it is, and start buying up these things. Start getting some of that soil, some pots, some plants, or just get into your garden, get the tools that you require to do it, and buy some seeds, start doing it. So I'm not going to talk about food anymore. Another little interesting thing, Finland's planning to build a barrier along the border with Russia now. So there is no barrier between Finland and Russia. It's like 810 miles, which is like over 1,000 kilometers. And it's just got posts on it. It's just forested area with posts on either side, one color for one side, one color for the other. So yeah, they're going to possibly build a wall. Going to build a wall. Interesting stuff. Good for them. All right. I promised you that I would finish off this quote. The answer to the world turning to goo. There have been centuries of philosophers plotting to turn the world into just that, to destroy people's minds by making them believe that that's what they're seeing. But you don't have to accept it. You don't have to see through the eyes of others. Hold on to yours. Stand on your own judgment. You know that what is. Say it aloud, like the holiest of prayers, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. That's what I'm going to leave you with today, gang. that little quote or that little conversation there from Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged. We don't have to believe what we're being told, okay? What we're being told is that nothing is real, that nothing is solid, that it's all just goo and let it go. We don't have to believe that. We know what is real. We know what is coming as well, and we can prepare ourselves in the best way that we can. So take that into the world today, gang. Stand strong, stay strong, and get your hands dirty, getting some gardening done today, or at least go get some little food stockpiles up. All right. Thanks again for watching, everyone. Hey, that was very like, hey. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for the comments. As always, if you've got any other questions, feel free to shoot them through to me. Always love to hear your questions. Always love to get other news articles that you find interesting. Always love to see what you guys have been up to and what your preps, where your preps are at. But let's continue doing it. Stay safe out there. Keep your eyes open. Keep prepping, and Semper Paratus.